Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back with another video. Chris with my service area today. Have something different. Usually, you're used to the can cleaning. Today, we got lawn care, and with us is Charles Nelson of Stepping Stone Landscaping out of Virginia. How you doing, Charles?
I'm doing well, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for taking the opportunity or taking the time to meet and record this video. I know we were supposed to meet over the holiday.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it didn't happen,
I
but
appreciate the flexibility.
yeah, we're here today. So, Charles, as we continue to make improvements to my service area, we found that my service area is becoming a good fit for the lawn care guys. So, give us a introduction and overview about your business and what you do, kind of the size, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Charles Nelson. We run out of Richmond, Virginia. We primarily service the west side of Richmond, which is important when we start talking about my service area. I started the business 7 years ago. As we've grown, at first we kind of grew. We didn't know, we like everyone else, you're trying to figure out what you're doing, what our services are. Are we gonna go landscaping, lawn care, what it may be. When we really started figuring out, okay, we wanted to primarily focus on residential maintenance, we started to grow. We went from, I would say, in probably 2019 is when we really started taking off, of one truck to two trucks to three trucks to now we're running five crews. We started, just to give a little idea of the size. We started off at one day south of the river, one day north of the river mowing the lawns, and then we've grown to, okay, now we have 20 days of mowing between the four different mowing crews, servicing about 200 to 250 lawns a week, which will soon grow even more as we get into the 2023 season. But as you grow, one of our struggles was, when do you say no? When do
Right.
you, especially during spring, when all those phone calls come in, it's, you want to say yes, 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 but then you forget that, hey, your trucks are out there in a week or two, they're going to start seeing it, and then that density starts coming into place. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about us as far as we grew. We again focus on the residential. We do have commercials as well if they're in our area, but our real focus was the density, making sure we're servicing the right customers, like I'm sure everyone else does. You get that customer, and oh, they've got a friend who lives on the other side of town, and oh, awesome, great, you do that. I'll tell a sad story. When we first started, we had a great customer who had 7 or 8 properties, and he wanted us to take care of his river house, which we were like, of course. It didn't make sense. It was an hour drive, but we took care of other properties.
Right.
Start sitting down and really crunching the numbers, even if it just doesn't matter, the missed opportunities and all that stuff, it's better to give up all 8 of his properties than to make that one exception. But yeah, which kind of led me into discovering your business and realizing, okay, someone has a solution for this problem of just kind of knowing where we service and what we do.
Yeah, and I want to give a special or a big shout out to Naylor for the introduction to us, because you and Naylor have been buddies for a while. You both talk about route density, and when I heard you on his show, I knew that it would be worthy of a conversation, which has led us to now working together, which has been phenomenal, because having a business the size of yours using MSA puts a lot of validation behind what we're doing. So let's talk about life before implementing my service area.
Yeah.
So how did that work? Or when you had an inquiry either from the website or from a phone call, what that process look like?
So basically, a call would come in. Let's say a call first. That takes even more work, right? Because then you got to go to Google, you got to try to figure out, okay, where are they? But the problem is you're just, unless all your customers' homes very clearly from a bird's eye point of view, you might think someone's in your area, but really there's a highway in between them, or a major road, or a major stoplight, or something like that. But that's what we would do. We would take a phone call, and then honestly, at at a point probably before my service area, we'd still go out and do the estimate, and then you'd have to give them the bad news when you drive there and realize, okay, this is how it. Um, the online side was pretty. When we've had a website from the beginning. You go to our page and you type in, like, hey, give me a quote. The quote would open up and they give you your address. We had no limitations. We didn't even on the website, we didn't say, oh, we only service these parts of town, or so we would get a lot of leads from all over. Um, when we would get a lead that we obviously knew was outside of our service area. I'll use Chester, for example. It's a town, maybe a 45-minute drive from us. We don't service the area. We would see the zip code or see the address and say Chester. Then you feel bad, because I kid you not, I've gotten a bad review before on a website because we didn't service their area. The
Really?
problem was, yeah, I didn't respond to them. I just ignored them because they were out of our area. You live and learn. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So I ignored them. They wrote a 1-star review saying how I didn't get back to them and this and that and my loss. And it was a whole ordeal. I actually got the review taken down from the customer because I obviously apologized to them, and explained, I'm so sorry. We just, we thought you had us wrong. You're just outside of our area. So what that means is we go the extra step when someone's outside of our service area. We can't just say sorry. We give them a recommendation. We will go on Google, type in their address, and hopefully find somebody. Now, we've been in business long enough to where we have developed relationships with friends like Naylor, other lawn care providers, so we can see where they serve or where they live, and hey, try this guy out, see
Right.
if it's a better fit for you. And
Yeah.
then that just kind of gets them off your plate. And then they're grateful, they're thankful, and we also have their email address. So if we decide to market that area later, we can.
Yeah.
That's pretty helpful as well. Um, that's what we did before my service area, and then now it's changed a little bit. You want to
Well,
say what?
so yeah, so let me tee this up since you threw me that softball. So, when we had our first conversation, you were skeptical about it. So,
Yeah,
talk about why you're a little bit skeptical of implementing something where maybe is perceived as an extra step in qualifying a lead.
yeah. So basically, my service areas, I'm sure everyone who's listening knows it pops up before they get to your personal form to fill out, and it's very clean and sharp looking. It fits right into our website, and I think any website. But basically, it just says, "Hey, let's confirm you're in our area." It doesn't. You start typing, it fills it in for you, which is a huge deal. And then it says great, and then it goes to the next page. It's very simple and sleek. I didn't realize that at the time. I thought it may be cumbersome for a customer to go the extra step and type in their address. The fact that they only need to type in maybe 6 to 10 keystrokes makes it pretty simple, and it makes them feel better.
Yeah, I mean, so that's usually the number one hesitation. I mean, even with our can cleaning customers, the number one kind of pushback or hesitation is, well, this becomes intrusive to the customer, to the website visitor.
Yeah,
When really what we're finding out is it's becoming a customer service tool as well, because not only does their time matter, your time matters as well.
yeah.
So
Well,
it's beneficial both ways.
in a day and age, here we are in 2023, where the number one thing that, when we pick up customers, they're usually upset already because they've tried reaching out to other contractors, other landscapers. They either didn't return their phone calls, didn't show up when they do it. So sorry about that.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. When they see that, hey, we're already being proactive and taking the steps to get, to have them in our service area, and they see that right away, they feel a little more confident. Like, oh, and then of course, right afterwards, when they actually send us their quote, we're getting back to them because we feel more confident. They've already gone through that step we vetted them. You know, we already know, hey, we're not wasting our time on this customer. But yeah, that's the plan. As far as moving forward, sorry, my text messages are coming through. I'm trying to but it really changed it as far as the perspective goes for me when I first saw you implemented into our website of, oh wow, it's not cumbersome. It actually helps a lot. And have I seen a decrease in people? If people can't type in additional 7 to 10 keystrokes to type in, 1234 Mayberry. Oh, there's your address. It already popped up. Do we really want them as a customer? That's the next question. So
that's a good point. I didn't think of it. Think about that either. If they're not willing to share some information, what other roadblocks may you run into if you actually sign them on?
Yeah,
by another means.
well, we get it all the time. We get, when our form gets filled out and they don't give the address. We don't make it a requirement because we feel, okay, we don't want to, I felt I didn't want to be invasive. If someone was like, oh, I don't know if I want to work with you yet, or this or that, it just takes longer. And when it's about closing the deal and selling and getting on their property and doing the work so we can actually make some money, why waste your time with that? Let's just get moving. So this definitely helps.
So that leads me into, now I know you have Sarah working in the office, and so when she gets a phone call, what does that process look like? If a inquiry is not coming from the website, it's coming from an actual phone call. What does her process look like using My Service Area?
So I'll go one step, back it up a little bit. Before using, or now that we've been using My Service Area for I think 6 months, maybe 7, it's completely, you can't talk to us without My Service Area being involved, and that's from the email side, the website side, or from, like you're saying, the phone call side. We realized how, and I didn't even know that was happening because I do have a Sarah. So Sarah, you and I were doing just a catch up, and we talked, and Sarah was like, oh yeah, I use it for every new customer. And we were like, what do you mean? And she said, well, when someone calls on the phone, instead of me trying to Google this address and figure out if they're in our service area, I just go to the website, type in 7 keystrokes, and it's yes or no right there. She now knows, okay, do I put my sales hat on and try to set up an estimate for Charles to go on? Or do I put my apology hat on and say, oh, sorry, we're not in your area, but here is a great company that is. It just makes her job a lot easier, especially with, it's 2023. We get leads from Instagram, Facebook, text messages, phone calls. I mean, all types of things. So voicemail, she knows before even returning the voicemail after hours, she knows, is this going to be a customer or is this going to be just someone to pass along?
So a huge time savings there on the back end.
Huge time savings. It just makes her job easier. And when her job is easier, you're more happy. And this would go for me as well if it was me doing it. But yeah.
So, what scheduling routing system do you use?
We use the CRM. I was going to say My Service Area. Service Autopilot. So we started using, like everyone else, we were Excel spreadsheets and clipboards printed out and everything until about 2019 is when I switched over to Service Autopilot. We love, any kind of CRM software. It really changes your business, and that opened my eyes into the technology field. So it's tough when someone is questioning the value of My Service Area.
Right. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, when you don't understand the value of technology, it's, whatever the price point is. I remember Service Autopilot. I can't remember. I think it was like $100 a month. And I was, no way. I just can't afford this. I don't want to do it. Now I probably pay 4 times as much. And I just don't know how I could be without it. So when something, I've learned that, I've been down that road and realized the value of these things. So when you approached me, I remember when you told me your price point, and I was just like, from a customer standpoint, sign me up. From a business standpoint, raise it, because this is a great deal. Here we are, 6 months later. Again, it's been fully implemented into our business. We love it. And that's me saying we talk, me paying for it. I'm
Right.
ready to go. So
Yeah.
um,
So if you had to give a recommendation for my service area, since you've been using it, I didn't even realize it's been that long, which is fantastic. No news is good news, right?
yeah,
What would be your what would be your comments to other lawn care companies out there that that would think about, their current process and how MSA could bring value to their business?
sure. So it's all about efficiency. That's what it really comes down to. And it's when you want to start scaling or becoming more efficient to become more profitable, you got to start counting the minutes, which add up to the hours, which add up to the dollars, really.
Right.
Um, when my theme for the company in 2023 is efficiency, and we're looking at. I got a big clock, a big red neon clock that's out in our shop, and it's like, hey, we are going to be out the door every day at this time. That is our goal. And I did the math that if I'm able to do that, I can save, and this is from last year, I can save over 400 man hours by being
Wow.
out the door at a certain time instead of dragging it on. Because when you have people working for you, same thing with something as simple as, that's a huge savings.
Yeah.
But when you look like my service area and you break it down, okay, what was I doing previously? Well, I was looking at a map and I took it and I made drawings on it. And I'm like, okay, I think I want a service area. But if I go further, all that is mental thinking. It takes mental time. Then I started getting a little smarter and I went off zip codes. Okay, customer gives me a zip code. Are you in my zip code or are you not in my zip code? Well, the problem was there's too many zip codes that are half rural, half suburban. And the rural, as much as I love the country, it's just not as profitable as suburbia. When I can knock out, we have 17 lawns in one little tiny subdivision versus I have 17 lawns in one entire zip code. That's a problem. We're just driving a lot more. And
Zip codes are too broad.
They're too broad.
Yeah.
They're broad. In Richmond here, when we have a zip code, we have multiple zip codes that span, they go very thin and they cross around the city and stuff like that. So then we got to a point where it's like, okay, we're only going to take half of this zip code. And then I remember watching Sarah zooming in on the map and trying to figure out if this customer, and I'm just, there's got to be a better way.
Right.
And, however many months, years later that we met, you solved the problem.
Yeah.
I can go in and I can go in and I can pinpoint every single dot on that map. I can pinpoint every single neighborhood and just go right around the neighborhoods that I know, because I'm out there selling. I mean, we have customers, we have leads that come in. I'm out in the truck going around to different new houses. I know which neighborhoods are on this side of town versus the other side of the road that, okay, that subdivision is an HOA, it's maintained, where I don't like going into those neighborhoods because I don't have any other customers in those neighborhoods.
Right.
Their grass is being cut by another company that does the entire neighborhood. That's awesome. For me to go in there, I'm gonna have to charge you a lot more because it's outside of our spot. So I can, if I wanted to, I can circle right around them and make sure that it's targeting, the leads that come in are targeting or properties that I want to service. And the crazy thing is too, it's very minimal setup time. It didn't take much to do that. You just drawing a line on a map and going around. You managed to find something that is simple, but it's game changing.
Right.
It's really helped us out.
Well, we appreciate that. And you just reminded me of something. You need to put on your to-do list for 2023, import your customers in there so we can get those pinned. And so you can get that data visualization part of it. I know you can see the pins, all the inquiries coming in, but also your current client base.
Well, that's a big one, and we haven't talked about that either. And I'm sorry if I'm done, but the pins were pretty cool as well. So why did I even go to zip codes in the first place? It had to do with marketing. You listen to any of the, well, I know this is mainly the can cleanings, but in the lawn care industry, there's a lot of guys out there on YouTube and Instagram telling you about marketing and how to market. And do you put door hangers out? Do you do Google AdWords? Do you do Facebook ads? Do you Instagram? There's so many different yard signs. Well, where do you go? Do you go to the nicest neighborhoods or this or that? What I found out of all the things we've already talked about, what I'm most excited about with my service area is the future, because I'm having a marketing meeting tonight with a buddy of mine who kind of handles that stuff for us. I'm lucky to have him as a friend, and he's going to ask me, "Hey, do you want to grow in here? What services do we want to tackle this year? What areas do we want to focus on?" And I can just log into my my portal that behind the scenes on the my service area website, and I can show them, well, it looks like we're getting a lot of leads from this area down there. And if I wanted to research it, who knows? Maybe a landscaping company went out of business,
Right.
and it's like maybe a new neighborhood got built, and one of our previous customers moved in and started talking us up. And you can start seeing, if you're tracking that, if you're checking on those people on those pins that didn't reach our inbox because they were out of our service area, which, by the way, we can get their emails, which is great, a great option for you. We can say, you know what, let's market to this region. This looks like a great growth opportunity for us. Let's push our resources there. And the same with, where do we focus our resources if we don't want to grow our service area? Where do we want to focus our marketing inside our service area?
Right.
The map function as well also helps you narrow down. Do we want to narrow down our service area?
Right.
It just doesn't seem like anybody's calling us from this little catty corner here. It's like, well, we gave it a shot. Let's just cut it out. And guess how long that takes? What, 20 seconds?
You just perfectly explained a very valuable part of MSA that is overlooked and not talked about. I had two people, because I raised my prices this year with can cleaning, and I had two people that canceled on me this week on this one route, and I went into my service area to look at this area where they were in, because they were neighbors, and realized that I really don't need to be, that's not my demographic.
Yeah.
I don't need to be servicing or putting any marketing efforts into that area, because it's a long shot. It's a starter neighborhood. Average homes are probably 1,500 square feet, which is fine, but it's just not my target neighborhood. So I was able to take my map and just move it and not include that neighborhood. So now I don't have to worry about filtering, looking up any addresses, there for them.
Yeah. It's a great tool. And it's so quick. That's what I love about it, is you can just jump on and see it. And sometimes I have questions, because it's not like I'm servicing one neighbor. We talked about Naylor earlier, who literally only services 3 neighborhoods, I believe. It's a different business model. It's a different business that in general that he has than from me. But we cast our net, we spread it out there, and so it's a pretty large net in the city. And sometimes I don't know if this customer is in our area anymore, because I can change it. I'm not changing it every week, don't get me wrong, but like once a year, semi-annually, you can evaluate, okay, let's maybe drop these 2 customers that are here and let's focus our time. Oh, that saves us 15 minutes of drive time if we just do that. And I know I'm rambling here, but one of the things that I talked about with Naylor actually at one point was, there's a difference between the guys that are starting out, the one man show, who are young and hungry. I mean, I remember I'd go out on a Sunday and push mow your overgrown grass at 10 a.m. You just, what else did I have to do? I didn't have kids. I didn't have employees. I didn't have anything else. And you can do those things. It doesn't really matter about the time. But what I realized very quickly was, I wasn't going to be like that forever. I wanted to have a crew. I wanted to have crews. I wanted to have a team in place, and I needed to be efficient before I started bringing those people on board. So even as a solo or with myself as a partner, we started putting those systems in play of like, hey, we want to make sure we know our area. We want to make sure we're not driving all over town for this, or set parameters. Like, hey, we don't work on Sundays.
Right.
But when you get employees and you're young, when you first start with employees, you just want to keep them busy. And so you might take those jobs that are a 15-minute drive, because if your guy, and this is what a lot of the guys that, and trust me, I'm not saying this is a blanket speech. Labor has been tough to find, and that goes across the board. But it's even tougher if you're not able to give them 40 hours. And so if you're giving them 30 hours because you just don't have the work, then they might jump ship. And, and sometimes it's quick. They realize, oh, this isn't for me. I need 40 hours of the work. So that's when you're the guys that realize that, hey, I can't find help. Maybe it's because I don't have enough work. They'll stretch it and they'll try to go a little outside their service area to give the guys work, break even. A lot of times it's not. I recommend against it. But then as you grow and you start realizing you're starting to pay overtime, then that's when you really start thinking, okay, this is when my service area makes complete sense. Is I need to stay in my lane. I can't, if you look on that map and you see those pins drop and you're just like, there's a lot over here and just a couple over here. Maybe I should readjust my service area.
Yeah.
Great name, by the way. I keep saying it, just,
It's so funny. I ran into my old boss yesterday cleaning on my route yesterday. I used to work for him a few years back in the software world, and he sent me a message this morning because we're going to grab lunch, and he said, "By the way, that is a freaking awesome name."
Yeah.
He's an entrepreneur. He created a software company and then sold it. So he's just enjoying life right now. But yeah, that's funny that you said that.
Yeah. Well, we've been enjoying it for sure. And there's so many different things that I didn't think about. At first, you sold me on someone that cares about route density. You sold me on the fact that I could map out my route. What I didn't know was all the growth potentials that came along with it, with the phone calls, with the, the time savings. I wish I had numbers pulled, and I promise we get back on here again in a few months, I will have data of time savings, because I'm big about keeping that kind of statistics this is how many new leads we got in. This is on average how long it takes to not use my service area. This is how on average how long it takes to use my service area. Right there, what?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I just think of all the pins that are outside of my service area. We did not need to communicate with them. Right. They didn't reach us.
Yep.
Sure. They may have gotten frustrated with the fact because they wanted us to service, and they might have picked up the phone and called us. I can't track that. But I have fairly confident they didn't do that. And every one of those, minimum 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you might, why is it? You just ignore the email. Well, learn from my mistakes. Don't ignore the email. So you gotta send them some review, and then they'll email you back. Oh, well, while you're at it, do you have this? And all of a sudden you're in a conversation with somebody that you're not going to make $1 off of.
I mean, all that you're sharing, maybe, and going back to your marketing and looking the pins, I don't know if there's a system out there that captures the inquiries, even if they're bad, they're out of area inquiries where you can view them on the map. So, I mean, if you're somebody from the marketing side that needs to look at where you can grow, like you said a few minutes ago, you may have this little cluster over here that was outside the area. How would you have known that any other way?
You wouldn't. And there's new neighborhoods popping up all the time, redistricting, gentrification. All of a sudden you got a neighborhood that was kind of run down 10 years ago is all of a sudden up and coming, and there's just a bunch of people out there with their new Ring doorbells and lawns that they've never cared for before because they don't know how to use a lawnmower, and then they're trying to reach out to us. Right. And when you look, I'm sorry, I pulled up the map here and I look at it, and it's like, sure, some are a little bit of a drive, which I'm just happy that we didn't have to answer that phone call or email. That's awesome.
Right.
Others, you look at them, their pockets, wow, they're pretty close. I could easily just kind of extend my map around that circle, and great. 2, a lot of those put in their email address to say, hey, when, because you have it set up. If anyone doesn't know, hey, we don't service your area as of yet, but if you'd like for us to reach out to you when we do, please, provide your email address here,
Yep.
which is a great tool.
And that language is well, all the language in the workflow is customizable to your business needs.
Yeah. And I know that, and I think I've changed maybe a period. You have it. Your default is pretty darn good. That's something we'll talk about with my marketing meeting tonight, is if he wants to update it, because he's kind of in charge of the website.
Yep.
But yeah, it's worked out well for us. I'm excited about, and all this we're talking about is for lawn care, our not crazy busy season. Spring rush for us is our busy season, and it's coming.
Yeah.
If you ask Sarah, she'd say it's already here.
But, well, I guess that's a good thing, right?
That's a good thing. But no, when give it a month or so, all of a sudden you go from having 2 emails a day, 2 new leads a day, to 10 to 20 for us.
Right.
So I'm very curious to see all those pins and all those dots on there, because when it's the spring rush, it's not about who does the best job. No offense, I think we should do quality work. It's about who gets on the property first.
Right.
And we're able to get our wasted time out of, if we're able to be efficient and not answer those phone calls or not answer those emails from customers who are not in our area. And when people who call are out of our area, we're able to give an answer in seconds that, hey, sorry. We're able to focus our time on getting to those people that are going to give us money, and we can go take their property.
Right. The qualified leads.
So again, I'm excited about I'm excited about looking back on what it's done for our business. And I'm excited about what it's going to do moving forward.
Well, we can't thank you enough, Charles, for everything. I certainly want to be mindful of your time, and you've given a lot. So, with that, I want to say thank you again. It's been a true pleasure working with you, getting to know you again. I wish we would have been able to grab lunch when you were in town down in Charleston.
Next year.
But yeah, next year for sure. And, if there's anything that we can do, recommendations, suggestions, let us know. But we certainly appreciate you as a customer and supporter of, my service area.
Thanks, Chris. Keep doing what you're doing. Or maybe don't change the thing, because it's working pretty darn good.
Well, good. Well, we're always looking for improvements, more efficiency, right?
That's right.
That's how you make money.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.